I think firstly the RG Snyman um transfer, so to speak, to the Leinster from Munster was a bit of a surprise. Um, Listening to a few former pundits or four former players, now pundits or analysts, they were saying that it's all happened very, very quickly. Like, usually you get a bit of wind, and then 3 or 4 weeks later, it starts to gather a little bit of momentum, and then you know. Oh, you maybe get a couple of texts saying, "Oh, do you hear the rumors are true?" And then a couple of weeks after that, it's all confirmed. But that wasn't the case. It was literally what, a week max that the rumors started to gather a bit of pace, and then bang. I think Leo Cullen was asked about it in his pre-match interview before the last game against Seal, and he sort of just brushed off it, brushed over it, and said, "Look, listen, I can't comment on players that aren't our players, just the usual." And then 2 days later, he signed for Leinster. So yeah, how much of an influence has Jack Nienaber played in getting RG Snyman to come up? I know Munster's hands were tied in terms of, was it John Klein or RG Snyman? And then when John Klein actually signed a new contract at Munster, the writing was on the wall. But I never thought the writing was going to say RG Snyman, Leinster for the 24-2025 season. And yeah, it's a tricky one, Donny, because I was still very much following Ulster and a huge fan of Ulster when Ruan Pinar was there, and he's still playing for the Cheetahs at 39 years of age. Man of the match last week against the Sharks, I believe, in their victory in the Challenge Cup. And yeah, he's he more or less got moved on from Ulster, didn't he, to make space for born and bred Irish players. And you just wonder about the likes of Joe McCarthy at Leinster, James Ryan. Like, if Leinster has a fully fit, stacked team, RG Snyman's probably going to start and probably going to play. So, Joe McCarthy, who for me it feels like he's next in line for Ireland, never mind Leinster, he sort of misses out. Um, or does he? Or does he get better because he's working with somebody like RG Snyman on a more regular basis? But I just feel it's a precarious situation that we now find ourselves in, because other provinces will be like, well, hold on a second. It doesn't matter if we have five Irish-born tight head props in the squad. They're all not good enough, and we need to go and sign a South African or somebody who's going to do better. And they go, "Oh, no, no, we need to make space for the Irish guys coming through." Well, hold on a second. That's not the same rule for Leinster, then, is it not? So it's yeah, it's going to be an interesting landscape, isn't it, over the next couple of seasons, to see what way see what signings are made from the other provinces. Um, and yeah, I know there's been a hell of a lot of chat about the front row at Munster, and it needs to be bolstered. And if they're going to continue on, um, or pick up where they left off, 4 or 5 seasons ago, they need to bolster the front row. So maybe letting RG Snyman go will maybe give them a little bit more leeway with the RFU and trying to sign a foreign front row player. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting landscape over the next couple of years. I think Munster have been hampered hugely by a number of key injuries, especially in their pack as well. Like Peter O'Mahony, he comes back from the World Cup, he played one game and then he's out injured again, in and out of the squad a little bit. The back row's been a hell of a lot of shuffling around. Thomas Ahern playing six. He's obviously been in the second row an awful lot. Dogbo's been out injured for a number of games. Big player for them. Tag Byrne, he's fit for every game. He's sort of just the glue that seems to be holding bits and pieces of the pack together. And we know the front row, like Dave Kilcoyne, just cannot keep himself fit at all. I'm not sure what is up with him with the reoccurrence of the hamstring or whatever from the Rugby World Cup. But yeah, and then tight head, is it Dieger, the guy that they signed? He's been on the bench the last couple of weeks. He maybe hasn't slotted in as quickly as they would have liked. So yeah, there just seems to be the only thing is, you've Jack Crowley and the new guy, the New Zealander, and Anton Frisch and Calvin Nash. And that just seems to be the only real consistency at the minute. I'm sorry, Craig Casey, the only real consistency at the minute. So you're talking 4 or 5 players, and then when Leinster come fully stacked and they've been resting a lot of players, and what was it, 47 players have used so far this season. And then they pitch up with a team that's used to playing with each other, not only week in, week out with Leinster, but also with Ireland. So yeah, it's going to be a big game. It's going to be a huge game, a game that I'm thoroughly looking forward to. But the way the two teams are at the minute, Donny, the two big wins in Europe for Leinster, two disappointing results for Munster. You'd have to say that Leinster are big favourites in this game. First of all, I was a little surprised at how good Ulster started the game with their physicality. And we haven't seen it all season. Their line speed and defence, getting up, closing down options of Racing 92, putting in big hits, dominant tackles behind the gain line, counter rucking a lot, getting over the ball, stealing. Like it's all basics. It's basic stuff. But when you do it with intensity and intent, it makes it so much easier for especially the other lads behind you. And I just feel like why has it taken, like, let's call it how it is. If they had a lost against Racing 92 at home, they're probably out of the competition because they have to play Toulouse and they have to go away to Harlequins. Of course, you're going to back yourself to get some points out of those games, but it almost takes like an occasion and a day to go, okay, lads, if we lose this, our season's potentially, well, coming into Christmas, it could be potentially over. Like in the European Cup anyway, and they're down to seventh in the URC and a couple of big games over Christmas. You lose two of those, and all of a sudden it's backs against the wall stuff. People are probably talking about, is this the right coaching staff to take us forward? That would have been four losses on the bounce. Confidence would have been really low. So to get a huge win is it's massive for the lads. It really is massive for the lads. And that'll give them a bit of confidence to go into this game. The only thing is, Donny, getting into this game is that Connacht seem a little bit stronger than Ulster do in terms of team selection tonight. And I get why Dan has done that, has made a few changes because there's been four or five of the guys that have played a high amount of minutes, but he's shuffled around. He's put his best front row props on the bench in Tom O'Toole and Stephen Kitskoff, where Connacht have went the other way with Buckley and Finlay Bealham starting, and like it's so windy up here today. It's like it's so windy, and I'm just thinking, see whoever wins the toss and plays against the wind first half. I have a funny feeling they're gonna win this game. Like it's so windy, and it's gonna play such a huge part. And I think that it's gonna be knock-ons. There's gonna be a lot of kicking. It might be a bit of stop-start game, so that could play in the Connacht's hands for 30 or 40 minutes anyway until the bench is emptied off. But yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game. It's always a tight game in Belfast. Connacht won here last year in the quarter final. A little bit of redemption maybe for Ulster in that. And of course, Connacht won a couple of, I think it was 2021 they won as well. So, and obviously they beat Ulster at home only a number of weeks ago. So a lot riding on it. And if Ulster don't continue on in the same form that they showed against Racing, then people start asking those questions again, even after such a terrific result.